What if you traveled across the stars, only to discover that time had erased everything you ever loved? For centuries, humanity looked toward the night sky and wondered if there was another place to call home. Earth was changing, resources were disappearing, wars had divided nations, and scientists believed that one day the planet itself would no longer be enough. So humanity built the greatest machine it had ever imagined, a colony ship called the Exodus. Its mission was simple: travel deep into space, establish a new future for mankind, and one day return home. For the people on board, the journey would last less than 20 years, but the universe had different plans. As the Exodus traveled close to the speed of light, time itself began to bend. Inside the ship, life moved slowly and peacefully. Outside, centuries passed, then thousands of years. 5,000 years slipped away, while the crew remained asleep. Hidden deep inside the ship, thousands of cryogenic chambers stood in perfect silence. Every man, woman, and child carried the same dream. One day, they would wake up and see Earth again. Watching over them was a single artificial intelligence, known as Echo. It never slept. It never closed its eyes. For more than 5,000 years, it listened to the endless hum of the engines and guarded the last surviving humans. Then, finally, the waiting ended. A soft light spread across the sleeping chamber. Frozen glass slowly cleared. Machines that had been silent for ages came back to life. One by one, the chambers opened. Commander Elias Ward slowly opened his eyes. The cold, recycled air filled his lungs. For a moment, he simply stood there, trying to remember where he was. Then he smiled. We made it. Around him, hundreds of people were waking up. Some laughed, some cried, some hugged the people standing beside them. Dr. Maya Chen stepped out of her chamber and looked around. I can't believe it, she whispered. We're finally going home. The word spread across the room. Home, the place they had left behind, the place they had dreamed about every single day. People gathered around old photographs and digital records of Earth. Blue oceans, green forests, cities glowing beneath the night sky. Children who had been born during the journey stared at those pictures with excitement. They had never seen a real ocean, never felt rain, never walked beneath an open sky. Commander Ward looked toward the bridge. Let's go see what 5,000 years of progress looks like. The senior crew followed him through the silent corridors. Everything looked exactly as they remembered. The bright white Ward walls, took a slow breath. The maintenance Echo, drones floating
open the
quietly
shields.
overhead.
The giant metal
the endless
panels
rows
slowly
of light
moved aside.
stretching into the
For a
distance.
few seconds,
It was
nobody
almost
spoke.
impossible
Earth
to
filled the
believe
entire
that
window,
5,000
but something
years
felt
had
wrong.
passed. When
Very
they reached
wrong.
the bridge,
The beautiful
everyone
blue
stopped.
planet from
A
history
massive
books was
observation
gone.
window
The oceans
stood
looked
before
dark.
them.
The clouds
Beyond
were
it,
thin.
Earth,
Huge storms
Ward
of gray
took a
dust
slow
covered
breath.
entire
Echo,
continents.
open
And there
the
were no
shields.
lights.
The giant
Not
metal
one.
panels
No glowing
slowly
cities.
moved aside.
No satellites.
For a few seconds,
no stations
nobody
orbiting
spoke.
the planet.
Earth
Only
filled the
silence.
entire window.
Dr. Maya
But
Chen
something
walked
felt
closer.
wrong.
There
Very
has to be a
wrong.
mistake.
The beautiful
Commander
blue
Ward
planet
looked
from
toward
history
Echo.
books was
Run a full
gone.
scan.
The oceans
The AI
looked dark.
immediately
The
obeyed.
clouds were thin.
Every second felt
Huge
longer than
storms
the
of
last.
gray dust
The bridge
covered
remained
entire
completely
continents.
silent, and there were no
Finally,
lights.
the results appeared.
Not one.
No active
No
satellites.
glowing cities.
No orbital traffic.
No satellites.
No radio
No
communications.
stations
No
orbiting the
large
planet.
energy sources.
Only silence.
No signs of
Dr.
civilization.
Maya Chen
Commander
walked
Ward
closer.
stared at the
There
screen.
has to be a mistake.
What happened to them?
Commander
Echo
Ward
answered
looked
with the
toward
same
Echo.
calm voice
Run a
it had
full
always
scan.
used.
The
Commander,
AI immediately
our
obeyed.
scans detect
Every
no human
second
civilization.
felt longer than the
Nobody
last.
moved.
The bridge
Nobody
remained
spoke.
completely
It felt
silent.
impossible.
Finally, the
5,000
results
years.
appeared.
Could an entire
No active
species simply
satellites.
disappear?
No orbital
Then,
traffic.
a weak sound
No
broke
radio
through the
communications.
silence.
At
No
first, it
large
was only
energy
static.
sources.
Then a
No
voice.
signs of
Broken,
civilization.
faint,
Commander
almost
Ward
impossible to
stared at the
understand.
screen.
7
What
days
happened
remaining.
to them?
The
Echo
message
answered
repeated
with
again.
the same calm
7
voice
days
it had
remaining.
always used.
Every person on the
Commander,
bridge looked at one another.
Our scans
Dr.
detect
Maya
no
Chen
human
slowly
civilization.
whispered, if
Nobody
that's a
moved.
transmission,
Nobody
then
spoke.
somebody has to
It
be
felt
down there.
impossible.
The
5,000
signal played
years.
over and over.
Could an entire
as the
species
Exodus
simply
moved into
disappear?
orbit. 7
Then,
days
a
remaining.
weak sound broke
Commander
through the
Ward
silence.
stood in front of the
At
main
first, it was
display.
only static.
Locate it. Then a
Echo
voice
processed the
broken.
data.
Signal
Faint,
source
almost
confirmed.
impossible to
Planet
understand.
surfaced. A strange
7 days
feeling spread
remaining.
across the bridge.
The message repeated
Hope.
again.
After everything they
7
had just
days
seen,
remaining.
hope was the
Every
last
person
thing anyone
on the bridge
expected.
looked at one
Maybe
another.
humanity wasn't
Dr.
gone.
Maya Chen
Maybe they had
slowly
survived
whispered,
underground.
If that's a
Maybe the
transmission,
planet had changed.
then
but
somebody
life had
has
to
found
be
a
down
way.
there.
Commander Ward looked at
The
his
signal
crew.
played over
We're going
and over.
home. As the massive engines of the Exodus slowly 7 days remaining, the ship Commander Ward stood in front of the main display. They came to the surface, located, the worst things looked. Echo processed the rivers shown in ancient maps source had confirmed. Entire coastlines had changed. A strange mountain ranges spread across the bridge. There were no aircraft, after no moving lights they had just seen. No cities. Hope was the endless thing anyone expected. Dr. Maya Maybe Chen humanity wasn't gone. Maybe they had survived underground. There should still be the planet had changed. There should be something life had found a way. Echo answered. Commander Ward there are structures beneath the surface. We're going the main home. Display zoomed. The massive engines slowly appeared beneath slowly the dust. Adjusted straight course. Roads. The ship entered the atmosphere. Entire the closer they came buried, to the surface, thousands of years of wind and sand had swallowed the rivers them shown in ancient one young officer stared at the screen. Entire coastlines had changed. Commander Ward ranges looked broken. What used to be there were no aircraft. Echo answered immediately. No moving lights. Historical archive match. Only endless New York City. Dr. Maya Chen watched one of the greatest cities in human civilization reduced to dust. There should the Exodus finally landed. There should be something left. Its engines pushed giant clouds of gray sand beneath the empty landscape. The main hatch zoomed in. For the first time, slowly appeared beneath the dust. Humanity stepped back on massive foundation. The air was cold, entire cities, and strangely clean. Thousands of years of wind and sand no insects, had swallowed them completely. No sound at all. One young landing team slowly walked across the wasteland. Those are skyscrapers. Small drones floated Commander ahead, Ward scanning the area. What used to be pieces of metal Echo answered immediately. A broken historical archive part of an old building. Fragments New York of a forgotten world. The bridge Dr. Maya Chen stopped one of the greatest cities. She knelt down human and brushed away the sand. Reduced to a small blue toy. The Exodus finally landed. She looked at it quietly. The signal. Some child had once played with it. Giant some family had once called this place the empty landscape. The signal suddenly became louder. The main hatch opened. 7 days for the first time in over 5,000 years. Step after step, humanity. The transmission guided them deeper into the endless desert. Then Echo spoke, and strangely artificial clean. Structure there were no birds beneath the surface, no insects. Commander Ward no sound at all. How deep? The landing team approximately 20 meters across the wasteland. The crew began clearing away the dust. Floated slowly, ahead. A dark metal the surface appeared. Half buried pieces of metal appeared until they realized they were standing on top of something enormous. Part of an old building, a gigantic circular door forgotten beneath their feet. It was completely untouched by time. At its center was the shape of a human hand. Below it were words carved into the metal hands. For those who looked at it quietly, nobody knew what to say. Some child Commander Ward slowly stepped forward. Some family had once placed his hand against the center of the door. The signal suddenly became louder. Nothing happened. 7 days then the ground began to shake. The team followed. Hidden machinery roared to life. Step after thousands of years of guided them deeper. Lights appeared around the edges of the giant door. Then Echo spoke. One by one, artificial transmission detected beneath the desert became completely silent. Commander Ward looked down. Then a deep mechanical voice echoed from somewhere below. Approximately 20 meters. Identity confirmed. The crew began clearing away the dust. Slowly, preservation protocol activated. The massive door slowly began to open until they realized just before the darkness beneath the earth revealed its secret. A gigantic circular door stretched beneath their feet. The countdown, it was completely never meant for you by time. The giant door continued the shape of a human hand. A wave of cold air escaped from the darkness carved into the metal, as if the earth itself had been holding its breath. Nobody knew what thousands of years. Commander Ward slowly Commander Elias Ward placed his hand against the center of the door. If someone built this place, nothing happened. He looked into the darkness. Then the ground began to shake. Then someone wanted hidden machinery roared to life. The crew switched on their thousands of years and slowly descended. Lights appeared around the edges of the giant beneath the surface. One by one, the walls were smooth, transmission stopped and untouched. The desert became completely silent. No damage, deep mechanical voice 5,000 years somewhere below. It looked as though identity confirmed had left only yesterday. Human presence. The deeper they went, final preservation protocol activated. Even the sound of the wind outside slowly began to open. Only their footsteps just before the darkness beneath the earth revealed after several minutes. The staircase spoke one final sentence. A massive underground city stretched out before was never meant for towering pillars reached into the door continued to open. Thousands of glowing panels covered air escaped from the most had gone dark forever, as if the earth itself had been holding its breath. Dr. Maya Chen slowly walked toward one of the panels. Commander Elias Ward, the screen suddenly came alive and took the first. A beautiful blue earth appeared. If someone children were playing in parks, he looked into the dark through crowded streets. Then someone wanted it to be beneath the night sky. The crew switched on their helmet lights, and slowly images changed. A long the sun began to burn bright. Deep violent solar storms exploded. The walls were smooth. Entire cities were untouched by time. People looked towards the sky with fear. No damage. A recorded voice no sign that 5,000 if you are hearing this, then our final plan as builders had left. The crew stood in silence. The deeper they continued, the quieter the world became beneath the earth. Soon, we built the sound of the wind outside had disappeared. But nothing could stop only their footsteps. The image changed endless corridor. Huge machines appeared across the screen. The staircase finally stood before before
a
them.
massive
Scientists,
underground city
children,
stretched out
families,
before them.
The voice
Towering
spoke once
pillars
more.
reached into the
We
darkness
discovered that the
above.
human mind
Thousands
could
of glowing
survive without the
panels
human
covered
body.
the walls.
Dr.
Most
Maya
had
Chen
gone dark
slowly shook
forever.
her head.
A few still flickered
The screen
with weak
showed
light.
streams of
Dr.
light
Maya
leaving human
Chen
bodies
slowly walked
and flowing
toward
into
one of the
giant
panels.
crystal towers.
As she touched
one by
it,
one,
the screen
millions of
suddenly
people
came
disappeared.
alive.
The
A beautiful
recording
blue
continued.
earth appeared.
We did not choose
Children
death.
were playing in
We
parks.
chose another form of
Families
life.
walked through
Commander
crowded
Ward
streets.
stared at the screen.
Cities sparkled
They
beneath
uploaded
the night
themselves.
sky. It was
Echo
the world
answered
they had
quietly.
dreamed of.
Analysis
Then the images
confirms
changed.
a digital
The
consciousness
sun began
transfer.
to burn brighter.
The corridor ahead
Violent
suddenly
solar
lit up.
storms
The crew
exploded
followed
across
it.
space.
The passage
Entire
opened into a
cities
chamber
were so
evacuated
large
that
people
they could
looked
not see
toward
the
the
end
sky
of it.
with
Endless
fear.
black
A
towers
recorded
stretched
voice
into the
filled the
darkness.
chamber.
Tiny
If
lights
you are
blinked
hearing
across
this,
their surfaces.
then our final
Some
plan
were bright,
has failed.
some flickered.
The crew stood
Many
in
had
silence.
already gone dark.
The voice
Dr.
continued.
Maya Chen looked
We built
around in
shelters
disbelief.
beneath the earth.
What is this place?
We built
Echo
colonies
scanned
among
the
the
structure.
stars. Central
But nothing
preservation
could stop
facility.
what was coming.
Common
The image
designation.
changed
The
again.
core. Huge
Commander
machines
Ward
appeared
slowly
across
walked
the
between
screen.
the towers.
Millions
He
of
reached
people
out and
stood
touched
before
one of
them.
them.
It
Scientists,
felt warm, alive.
children,
Suddenly,
families,
a voice
the voice
whispered
spoke
through his
once
helmet.
more.
Is someone
We
there?
discovered that the
Ward
human
looked around.
mind could survive
Another voice
without
appeared.
the human
Then
body.
another.
Then
Dr. Maya
hundreds,
Chen
thousands,
slowly shook
weak,
her head.
broken,
No,
almost forgotten.
The screen showed
Please,
streams of light
don't
leaving
leave us.
human bodies.
We've been
and
waiting.
flowing into giant
Dr. Maya
crystal
Chen
towers.
could no longer
one by
hold back
one,
her tears.
Millions of
They're
people
still here.
disappeared.
Echo
The recording
corrected her.
continued.
Digital
We
consciousness
did not
patterns
choose
remain
death.
active.
We chose
But
another
system
form of
stability
life.
is critical.
Commander
A giant
Ward
display
stared
slowly
slowly
illuminated
in
they
the center
uploaded
of the
themselves.
chamber.
Bright red
Echo
numbers
answered
appeared.
quietly.
6 days.
Analysis
23
confirms
hours.
a digital
41
consciousness
minutes.
transfer.
The countdown
The
had
corridor
never stopped.
ahead suddenly
Commander
lit up.
Ward looked
The
at
crew
Echo.
followed
What
it.
happens
The
when it
passage
reaches
opened
zero?
into a
For the
chamber
first
so
time
large
since the mission
that they
began,
could not see the
the
end of it.
artificial
Endless
intelligence
black
hesitated.
towers stretched
Then it
into
answered.
the darkness.
The core
Tiny
will
lights
permanently
blinked
lose
across
power.
their surfaces.
All remaining human
Some were
consciousness
bright,
will cease
some
to exist.
flickered. The whispers
Many had
around
already
them
gone
became
dark.
louder.
Dr.
Not
Maya
angry,
Chen
not
looked
violent,
around in
just
disbelief.
afraid.
Commander
What is this
Ward
place?
looked across the
Echo
endless
scanned the
towers.
structure.
Humanity had
Central
survived,
preservation
but only as
facility.
memories trapped
Common
inside a dying
designation.
machine.
The
Then
core,
a new voice
Commander
echoed through
Ward
the chamber.
slowly walked
Clear,
between the
calm,
towers.
almost
He reached
human.
out and
The
touched
last
one
living
of them.
humans have
It
returned.
felt warm,
Authorization
alive.
required.
Suddenly,
Do you wish to
a
save
voice
us?
whispered through his
Nobody
helmet.
answered.
Is someone
Commander
there?
Ward looked at
Ward
the glowing
looked around.
towers stretching
Another
into the
voice
darkness.
appeared.
8 billion
Then
human
another.
minds.
Then hundreds.
Waiting,
Hoping,
thousands,
trusting
weak,
strangers
broken,
from another time
almost
to
forgotten.
decide their future.
Please,
Dr. Maya Chen
don't leave
finally
us.
broke the silence.
We've been waiting.
If we walk away,
Dr. Maya
humanity
Chen could no
dies
longer
forever.
hold back
Echo
her
began
tears.
calculating.
They're still
Available
here.
fusion
Echo
reserves
corrected
detected.
her.
Commander
Digital
Ward
consciousness
looked at the
patterns remain
How much
active.
time can we give
But
them?
system stability
The answer
is
came
critical.
immediately.
A giant
1
display
hour.
slowly
The chamber
illuminated
fell silent.
in the center of the
5,000
chamber.
years of waiting.
Bright red numbers
for only
appeared.
60 more minutes.
6
Some
days,
members of the crew wanted to
23
leave.
hours.
The mission had
41
been
minutes.
to survive.
The
Not to
countdown had
sacrifice
never
themselves
stopped.
for ghosts.
Commander
Others
Ward
believed
looked at
these were
Echo.
not ghosts
What
at all.
happens when
They
it
were
reaches
people.
zero?
Mothers,
For the first
fathers,
time since
children,
the mission began,
the last survivors
the
of Earth.
artificial
Dr. Maya
intelligence
Chen
hesitated.
stepped toward the
Then
center
it
of the
answered.
core.
The
They
core
waited
will
for us.
permanently lose
We can't
power.
abandon them twice.
All remaining
Commander
human
Ward
consciousness
closed
will
his
cease
eyes.
to exist.
He remembered the
whispers
stories he had
around
heard
them
as a
became
child.
louder.
Blue
Not
skies,
angry,
rain
not
falling over
violent,
the oceans,
just
birds
afraid.
singing in the
Commander
morning.
Ward
a world
looked
he had
across
never
the
truly
endless
seen.
towers.
He opened his
Humanity
eyes.
had survived.
Echo,
But
transfer
only as
all
memories
remaining fusion
trapped
power
inside
to
a
the core.
dying machine.
The AI paused.
Then a new voice
Warning
echoed through the chamber.
The Exodus will
Clear,
lose its emergency
calm,
reserves.
almost human.
Future survival
The last living
probability
humans
reduced.
have returned.
Ward nodded.
Authorization
Do it.
required.
A deep
Do you
vibration
wish to
spread
save
through
us?
the chamber.
Nobody
One by one,
answered.
the black
Commander
towers began
Ward
to glow.
looked at the glowing
Soft white
towers
light filled the
stretching into
darkness.
the darkness.
The whispers
8
returned.
billion human
Then
minds.
voices,
Waiting,
then laughter,
hoping,
millions of
trusting
voices
strangers
echoed together.
from another
A civilization
time to
was
decide
waking
their
up.
future.
Glowing
Dr.
figures
Maya
slowly
Chen
appeared
finally
between
broke
the towers.
silence.
Parents
If we
embraced
walk
their
away,
children. Friends
humanity
found one another.
dies forever.
Old faces
Echo
smiled
began
through
calculating.
Tears. The crew
Available
stood in complete
fusion
silence.
reserves detected.
No one wanted to speak.
Commander
A
Ward
small
small
looked at
girl
the
made of
AI.
light walked toward
How much
Commander
time
Ward.
can we give
She
them?
looked up at him and
The
smiled.
answer came immediately.
You came back.
1
Ward
hour.
could not find the
The
words.
chamber fell
He simply
silent.
nodded.
5,000
the little girl
years of
smiled.
waiting. Thank
For
you.
only 60 more
Time
minutes.
passed quickly.
Some members of
The
the
light
crew
slowly
wanted to
began to
leave.
fade.
The mission
glowing
had been
figures
to survive,
looked toward the crew
not to
one last
sacrifice
time.
themselves.
There was
for
no
ghosts.
fear.
Others
No sadness.
believed these were
Only
not
peace.
ghosts at all.
Then
They
every
were
voice
people,
joined together.
mothers,
One final
fathers,
message echoed
children,
through the chamber.
the last
If anyone
survivors
finds
of
this
Earth,
world,
Dr. Maya
tell the
Chen
universe
stepped toward
we
the
were
center
here.
of the core.
The last light
They waited
disappeared.
for us.
The core went
We
dark.
can't abandon
Earth
them
became
twice.
silent once again.
Commander Ward
Ward
his
looked
eyes.
toward the stars.
He remembered
above.
the stories
Maybe
he had
humanity
heard
was
as a
never meant to
child.
live forever.
Blue skies,
Maybe all any
rain
civilization
falling over
can
the
hope
oceans.
for. Is that
Birds
someone
singing
remembers
in the
its
morning.
story?
A
And
world
now
he
I
had
want to
never
ask you
truly
something.
seen.
If you were
He
standing
opened
where
his
Commander
eyes.
Ward
Echo,
stood, and you had
transfer
only enough
all
power
remaining
to save
fusion
8 billion
power to the
digital
core.
souls for
The
one
AI
final hour.
paused.
What would you
Warning,
choose?
Would you
The
save
Exodus
humanity,
will lose
or
its
would you save
emergency
yourself
reserves
and search for a new
future
future among
survival
the
probability
stars? Let me know
reduced?
your answer
Ward
in the comments
nodded.
below.
Do
And
it.
if you enjoy
A deep
stories that make you
vibration
question
spread
the
through the
future,
chamber.
the universe,
One by
and what
one,
it truly
the
means
black
to be
towers
human,
began to
make
glow.
sure you subscribe
Soft white
to
light
HYF
filled the
Sci-Fi.
darkness.
Because
The
out
whispers
there among the
returned.
stars,
Then voices,
there are still countless
then
mysteries
laughter.
waiting to be
Millions of
discovered.
voices echoed together.
A civilization was waking up. Glowing figures slowly appeared between the towers. Parents embraced their children. Friends found one another. Old faces smiled through tears. The crew stood in complete silence. No one wanted to speak. A small girl made of light walked toward Commander Ward. She looked up at him and smiled. "You came back." Ward could not find the words. He simply nodded. The little girl smiled. "Thank you." Time passed quickly. The lights slowly began to fade. The glowing figures looked toward the crew one last time. There was no fear, no sadness, only peace. Then every voice joined together. One final message echoed through the chamber. "If anyone finds this world, tell the universe, we were here." The last light disappeared. The core went dark. Earth became silent once again. Commander Ward looked toward the stars above. Maybe humanity was never meant to live forever. Maybe all any civilization can hope for is that someone remembers its story. And now I want to ask you something. If you were standing where Commander Ward stood, and you had only enough power to save 8 billion digital souls for one final hour, what would you choose? Would you save humanity? Or would you save yourself and search for a new future among the stars? Let me know your answer in the comments below. And if you enjoy stories that make you question the future, the universe, and what it truly means to be human, make sure you subscribe to HYF Sci-Fi. Because out there, among the stars, there are still countless mysteries waiting to be discovered. Thanks for watching. If you love epic sci-fi stories and unforgettable adventures, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to HYF Sci-Fi. Join our growing community, and we'll see you in the next journey beyond the stars.